Welcome, everybody, to the Cast from the Coast. My name is Adam Oz, and I'm joined, as always, by Josh Lambert, Aaron Peerless, and Tim Johnson. What are we talking about tonight, Tim?
A little ditty from 2012, Silent Night.
Stay tuned. All right, Tim, you might as well just give us the synopsis.
I might as well.
Might as well.
So impatient. So impatient.
So impatient. Go.
The police force of a remote Midwestern town search for a killer Santa Claus who's picking off citizens on Christmas Eve.
A not-so-close remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah. Unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
What?
Unnecessary.
You guys are jabronis.
No,
This is filled
don't call me a jabroni
with
yet.
gore goodness.
I have some partial like for this movie, and we'll get into that when we discuss.
Yeah, this movie wasn't horrible. It was dumb. Didn't need to be made.
Didn't need to be made.
Adam was just jumping
There was
on the
some
bed.
really in-your-face stupidity in this movie too, but there is
Like
one.
what?
Oh,
Okay,
really? The
but-
priest, the preacher? He was
Yeah,
just a
some of the-
moron.
Some of the stuff was great, but the problem is that I had with this was it was an unnecessary remake that had absolutely nothing to do with the original Silent Night, Deadly Night. Just fucking make your own movie about a killer Santa.
It has nothing to do with it, yet it's an unnecessary remake.
If this movie
Explain.
would have been released just called Silent Night and had no ties whatsoever to Silent Night, Deadly Night, if they never said it was a remake, if there were certain things that were not even homaged in the movie, probably would have been a lot better. But when this movie got released, it was actually released as purposeful, a remake of the original tale.
Yeah.
So
Just
didn't
like
get that.
that shitty Black Christmas that came out.
nothing to do like the original story.
It's like just think of something new.
Yeah.
You
So
got all this more or less new stuff in this movie.
it could have held on its
Just
own.
call-
I thought there were some pretty good differences to break it up a little bit.
Well, yeah, but it should have been its own thing. Like they should
Should've
never
been
have
its own
tied
thing.
it to the original. Is what?
Yeah.
What
If
we're
they
kinda
I
wouldn't
don't
have
feel
said
it
that
is
it was-
tied to it. I think it's just a different movie. The only thing that ties
Yeah.
it to it is whatever you're saying when they launched it. That
Right.
they tried to get some views from that fan base.
Well, and the fact that they actually did try, like, the kid traumatized turns, which is the twist to this movie. Which I'm sorry, but if you promote this as a remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, you can almost see that was the twist that was going to happen, because the original was about a kid that was traumatized and turns into a killer Santa Claus. Of course, we're not going to assume that the father survived. It's going to be the kid or something like this. Right down to the antlers where the woman was, stabbed onto, right?
like the practical effects in this movie were great. Like I'm not shitting on like the
they
good
were awesome.
parts of this movie. It's just I was kind of triggered watching it because it was like why do you need to stand on something that was already made when you obviously have like enough insight and like creativity to come up with shit that's different than the original? Just make something original.
Just call it
Why-
a different name.
Yeah, you didn't need to call it Silent Night and go and tote around that this was,
A remake.
a remake, right? Or a reboot. I think they said reboot.
They might have, whatever they said. But I mean, I still stand by the fact that they could have been still named Silent Night, because it is what it is. But as long as they never said that it had any ties to the original, which they did, and you know that then that's fine. So let's.
We're gonna make a remake, but it's not gonna be tied to the original.
Yeah, that's where they got the idea for the 2019 Black Christmas, as Tim mentions. We're gonna do a remake, but it's not gonna have anything to do with the original. Okay.
Idiots.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about characters here, starting off. So first and foremost, we have. I think a lot of people's, like a lot of people love this person. Jamie King. Jamie King's in this movie. Come on, like you gotta love the shit that she does.
Not who I thought you were gonna say.
Yeah,
I was all ready to get Jamie King.
But Jamie King is like the main character in this movie. She plays Aubrey Bradamore.
I thought they were gonna talk about fucking Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah,
he's coming in a second, folks.
Or a royalty that's in this
Everybody
film.
loves this.
Okay.
Okay. Jamie
Malcolm
King.
McDowell might be royalty, but he's got some of the worst fucking lines in this movie. Don't put avocado on the hamburger.
That's gold.
Now what is it? Now you're throwing fucking. I can't remember what he says. Now you're putting Parmesan on the avocado or some shit.
Love it.
It's fucking terrible, man. It's funny.
My favorite part of the movie was one of his lines when she's like, "Yeah, I just can't. There's no way I can show up for work today." And he's like, "All right, I'll see you this afternoon." And she's like, she's still saying that there's no way I can come in. He's like, "Okay, cool. I'll see you this afternoon."
Yeah.
Kills me.
He was a bit of an asshole, which was great, but
Oh, I laughed out loud when he said, "Don't put avocado on it."
Yeah.
It's fucking terrible, though. Come on. You don't put avocado on the hamburger. And even she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? All right,
Cool dude. He's a cool dude anyway.
Yeah.
I'll get to that. But
So we have Jamie King, who plays Aubrey Bradamore, and she's kind of like the main focus of this movie. It's her time on this Christmas. It starts off, we can find out that she's obviously gone through something. You to kind of get a little bit of an insight into that later on in the movie, that it was like her husband or fiance or something like this was like murdered, and so she's having a hard time at Christmas. It looks like she's staying with her parents for a little while. Her father's like an ex sheriff's deputy himself. Mother's little Miss Susie homemaker, and everybody's all happy by the looks of it. So like I said, she's having it tough. She's dealing with shit, and she's the one who's kind of stumbling into a lot of what's going on. But she's proving herself in this movie. It's kind of like one of those pedestals where it's like the female hero character is kind of working her way, beyond what certain people in the movie are expecting her to be able to. If you can kind of see where I'm going with this.
Yes.
Okay. and then we have horror movie royalty, Malcolm McDowell, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
the showrunner.
showrunner.
The name when that pops up on the credits, you're like, all right, I'll watch this.
Fuck yeah.
Malcolm McDowell. Malcolm McDowell in one of his more disappointing roles. Just kidding. Holy shit, come on.
Stop.
Don't put avocado on the burger, Adam.
Yeah.
I really did like his character. It's old crass Malcolm McDowell, very similar to the way that he played Loomis in the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. He's weathered, he's been there, he's seen that, he's done that, and he's basically ready to, make sure that things end quickly and efficiently instead of letting things draw out. You know what I mean? Like he just wants to be done with things. He's a good character in the movie. He does, like I said, he has some of the most cringy lines in my opinion, but that's just because everything's a fucking allegory or fucking, something. Everything is explained in a metaphor with this guy. It's kind of funny.
Could be because it was a shitty movie. The director and writer didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah, and
that could be why. That could be why this gifted actor sucked.
Well, nobody said that he sucked. I said he had the cringiest lines. And once again, he didn't write the fucking lines, so there's a good possibility of all that. So in terms of other characters, we got some of the other deputies that we meet. We got the obvious Santa Claus himself, who gets revealed at the end as the child of the original Santa Claus murderer. that gets explained in the movie. He's one of those local town folklores that every town has that story. Which it's kind of funny because when you actually read up on this, the story itself, I actually remember when the original events happened. So to find out that it was loosely based on a true story was even funnier to me. Like, so there was actually a case where a guy had found out that his wife had been cheating on him, and she was out at a Christmas party, like a work Christmas party, and she was with the guy that she was cheating on him with. And he showed up in a Santa suit, but it wasn't a flamethrower. It was like he basically had like I can't remember what it was, like a hammer and a knife, and he went around slashing and beating the shit out of people or something like this and murdered them. So like this was like partially based on a true story because it was in it actually I think said in the end credits partially based on the something massacre that originally occurred. And it all happened on a Christmas party with the guy dressed as Santa Claus. But I like the idea that this is a Santa Claus that had the flamethrower that he had handmade, and the son kind of picks up the mantle. So there's the whole idea that the son is actually crazy. Now that goes to question. They did say that every year he comes back and it's a different town and a different location. So that kind of opens it up to the fact that there are other stories that could have been told. You know what I mean? There are other towns, other places, other stories with the same character. And let's face it, when it opens up the opening of the movie, he has like I'm going to use my term, tickle trunk. He opens it up and there's like 3 or 4 masks and different hats, and he's kind of like piecing together what he wants to look like for this fucking murder spree.
It's almost like it's its own film and doesn't have anything to do with Silent Night.
Almost like, which kind of makes it,
Are you, Josh? Are you under like? Do you think that I'm just making that up? Like,
No, I'm sure they released it.
Was there or
after
was
the
there
fact.
not a line in this movie? What is it? Garbage Day?
Oh yeah, because they did it
it's
for
an
the sequel.
homage. Don't get me wrong.
It's they basically it's the trend that they were doing in the
2000s.
2010s, 2012s, where they'd take like a classic horror movie and then make it shit. Because they did it with all kinds of stuff. They did My Bloody Valentine, which also I believe had Jamie King in it.
Did 2009's My Bloody Valentine 3D.
My Bloody Valentine, which was garbage. The remake
was like an
was
obvious
garbage.
That couldn't stand alone on its own. That's My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah,
this movie, I feel like if it had a different title and they didn't launch it as the sequel or reboot or whatever,
I guess
there's nothing tying it to the series. I feel like, other than a couple of homages. But that's neither here nor there.
I digress.
But once again, the movie, aside from that one little plight that me and Tim have with it, the movie does stand well. So we'll continue to talk about that.
Oh, if anything, like I said, the practical effects in this movie were dope.
There was
that Santa mask was dope.
Santa mask was dope. That's what I was saying, dude. Like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Next time I find one of those,
great too.
Next time I find one of those, because you can find them all the time at fucking Halloween for like $1 or $2. Those clear, partially opaque masks with like just the eyes colored in and the mouth colored in. I want to get one of those and make a Santa mask out of it. That's cool.
Yeah.
So we also get introduced. There's obviously Deputy Giles, one of the other deputies here. He's kind of an odd guy, but he seems fairly harmless. He's just kind of like got his own, agenda to things. He's a little bit of a lazy ass. We have Brenda, who runs in the office. She's the administrator in the office. We have the mayor. We get introduced to the mayor and his daughter. What's his daughter's name? Tiffany? I want to say Tiffany. Yes, Tiffany.
Lutsicle.
And so it starts.
Let's just say that again.
Lutsicle.
Can't
Like
say
an
it.
icicle.
Yeah. Or pops.
Oh man.
Hey, I'm keeping it Christmassy here. Give me a break.
That's right. And we also have like some other throwaway characters that they introduce in the movie, such as Jim Epstein, the boner Santa from the town square that everybody's talking about. It's hilarious. So, yeah. Josh.
Yes.
I want to hear your notes about this movie.
Sure. My first viewing of Silent Night took place November 25th, 2020 at 9:06 p.m. The first note I have here is, well, at least he has good hygiene. You see him all scrubbing up. Christmas light electrical chair. That's a new one for me. Points for creativity. I said, so he's some sort of Santa jigsaw, putting them in like traps. Malcolm McDowell, horror royalty. Had to laugh at the chief when he said, well, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And then that kid was such a little shit. The first one that got like wrecked by Santa.
That was
Oh.
that was one of my favorite deaths, just because she's one of those
Yeah.
characters in a movie that you want to die, and she did die. Little shithead.
Yeah.
Just
She's
say
like,
it,
fuck
Adam. Just say it.
church. Santa's a savage. She was like fucking 13 and he just straight up impaled her.
After
Taking
taking a
no
cattle prod to
prisoners.
her.
Yeah. The priest is definitely trying to boink her.
The deputy.
Yeah.
Anything I can do.
Well, to be honest, Timmy, I don't think you deserve anything this year. That's fucking hysterical.
Oh.
Aw.
I thought you were talking to me.
Halloweener, quote. What a shitbag. Took his grandfather's money.
Yep.
Boning her pretty regularly, quote.
Oh, and that's the other toss back to the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, right there. The grandfather.
Oh, yeah?
He grabs the grandson and he tells him, if you see Santa Claus tonight, run, boy. He's coming for you.
Why would a mute catatonic man have a wallet full of cash?
I wondered that.
Yeah.
Like, what? He's not. He can't speak. He can't move. He ain't shopping. Strange.
Maybe he wants some chips from the chip machine.
Yeah, but he ain't buying them. He's
That's what I
catatonic.
mean. Somebody else, one of the workers, needs some chips from the chip machine.
So is this a supernatural story or what? Like how?
Nope.
Because it kind of leads into that this catatonic man all of a sudden snaps out of it, warns him about the danger incoming, and then all of a sudden, no, it's just normal.
It's a cliched scenario. Like in the original, it was the same thing. The grandfather was in like a catatonic state, but the family was just visiting him to, hope that would bring a little cheer and it would help the medical condition. And when they leave the grandson with him, he snaps out of it and warns the grandson about Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. It's the same idea, but it's just not as well executed by any means.
She was screwing half the town. Yikes. The mayor's daughter does Grease films. That's fucking hysterical.
Tiffany.
And then I wrote, the old scythe to the bird. Followed by the old shower curtain strangle. Another classic.
Almost like an homage to Black Christmas when you look at it at a certain angle.
And I wrote, oh man, a wood chipper. Excellent.
Oh, that was
Excellent.
wicked. Yeah, that was wicked.
5-minute naked chase scene ending in a wood chipper. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, if Santa has a naughty list, why wasn't the mayor's daughter on it? Like, why did he just, walk by her going up the stairs and was like, Adam, have a good day?
But I get the impression that she was, but this was just not her time. He wasn't going to murder her right out and, right then and there. He's going to go kill these two that are, doing this, and then he catches up with her later.
I guess.
He catches up with her later.
Yeah. The sleazeball pocketing the Carol hose hard-earned dollars was pretty comical.
The Carol hose.
This poor old lady just wanted to go to midnight mass, and now she's got some digness going on about internet porn and how the world's going to shit.
The sin!
Hey, she got $30.
I won't say a word. I ain't no narc.
I ain't no narc.
How many fucking Santas are in this town? At one point, there's like a scene and there's like 30 of them walking down the street. Like, that's not normal activity, man. There's normally not that many Santas in a town.
They were talking about the Santa Claus parade, where it's literally a parade of Santas.
Full of Santas, yeah. That's
And
not
it's
normal.
actually, it's kind of funny because the town that they filmed that in, they actually do that like every year. There's like a Santa Claus parade thing that goes on. So they actually filmed it around that time.
Wouldn't that ruin it for all the kids? Like, which one's real,
That's
Mom?
what I'm thinking, yeah.
Those are his helpers.
But they're dressed as
The
Santa.
Santa
What a
flamethrower.
thing to do.
Man, this film is cheesy as fuck. But you gotta give the writers some credit. Double S, double screwed. What the fuck? The mayor didn't even do anything. Yeah, why did the mayor get wrecked? He seemed like a good, upstanding mayor.
Oh, he was a smoker.
Okay.
It's if I was to guess, you know, as you would hear the sheriff Malcolm McDowell talk about, it's like this town's gone to shit, you know. So it's almost like maybe this
You
guy,
think the mayor's
like
embezzling?
No, I don't necessarily mean that, but maybe it's partly the mayor's fault that places of, you know, businesses have shut down, the town's gone to shit, people are resorting to other means of income.
Lighten Santa's sack, quote.
Oh man, I laughed so hard at that.
Yeah. And then the old axe to the Achilles tendon.
That's brutal.
The antler pierce, and the head crack. Aaron's gonna have a field day with all these effects.
Hell yeah.
Ring ring, it's a telemarketer to raise money for National Suck My Dick Week. That's fucking hysterical. I don't care what you say. This guy gets wrecked while taking out the garbage. Classic.
Garbage day.
Yeah. What the fuck did the father do? He's just a wholesome Santa. Just a wholesome Santa impersonator.
Yeah.
Her father?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Like
find
he was-
out. You find out what he did. The reason why he's dead. Did you go back over that later on in your notes as to why?
No.
Because he's the one who took down the killer's father. He's the one who actually shot the killer's father. When it shows the flashback to actually reveal what happened, it's his name tag. He shot the Santa, the original Santa Claus. So of course the son's taking revenge. You killed my father, I kill you.
Unacceptable. You
Unacceptable.
got rules to follow as the slasher, bro. You can't just be taking personal revenge. Like how the emergency lights are red and green in that scene. It's very Christmassy.
Good colors.
The Christmas-themed brass knuckles.
That was wicked. Ho ho ho, man.
Yeah.
That was a good touch.
I wish I was at the brainstorm meeting when that one came up. With all the writers sitting in a room, they're like, all right, he's going to have brass knuckles to say ho, ho, ho. The fucking axe lightsaber battle with the green and the red emergency lights going. So who is the Santa? And then so it was the son of the original guy. Those are my notes.
Yeah, I just got to go back to the brass knuckles for a sec because you could read ho 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 written on those things. But when the guy got hit in the head, it would have O O O.
True.
Right?
Yeah. It's true. Okay. Well, thank you, Josh.
It's like getting a tattoo of mom on your butt. You know, M on each cheek, and then when you sit there, it can say wow. But you bend over, it can say mom. Like
Dirty.
Terrible.
What is wrong with you, Aaron?
Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm just making a point.
So couple of points about your notes. First and foremost, at the beginning, the Christmas lights death. I still can't get behind that one. That's the one death in this movie that I can't get behind. Like, how was he not being electrocuted with the lights on normally? And then all of a sudden he goes over and he cranks up something, and all of a sudden he's getting electrocuted.
They're incandescents, man.
And it's movie magic.
Movie magic. Believe. Okay, Tim, you sold me. It's movie magic, apparently.
Incandescents can get pretty.
I don't believe that, Adam.
No, it's because it's not true, Tim. I'm just, being that. Second, the most satisfying death in this movie, in my opinion, is the little shit-headed girl. I need my LV, Mom! And she's like slapping her mother's heart medication out of her hands and shit. That was a satisfying death. I don't give a shit who you are. That was
she was like 12.
But it was instant too, and I was like, "Take that, you little."
It wasn't instant. She suffered, and that was better.
No, but I mean, it was instant from when she slapped the meds out. I was like, oh, okay, so this is going to play out, down the road. She's going to get murdered or something like that. But no, within the next, 2 or 3 minutes, Santa comes to the door and is like, here, have a cattle prod, little bitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Greedy little shit, and it was perfect. I don't give a shit if she's 12 years old. Mike Myers snapped the neck of a 12-year-old dancer who was totally innocent. This kid deserved it. This kid was a shit.
Nobody's innocent of Mike Myers.
The one thing I don't like is this fucking Santa guy just going around willy-nilly. He's either got a naughty list or he doesn't. He's killing people willy-nilly.
He's just killing people willy-nilly. What's wrong with that? He's gone.
I know.
He's gone in the head. Okay.
If you're gonna kill people willy-nilly, fine, but don't go under the guise of a naughty list.
All right.
Today of precious naughty list.
The other thing that really kind of stood out to me all over in this movie, there was a very big lack of snow. I really wanted this to be more snow encapsulated, this movie. Like, I wanted snow. And, like, it seemed in a lot of ways like it was just filmed in, like, the fall or the spring. Like the wood chipper scene. I love the wood chipper scene. Would have been so much better if it was snow that the blood was pouring out on the other side into and shit like that. Like, but instead it kind of looked like it was a set up Christmas tree thing in the middle of like fall.
Well, it takes place in late November, doesn't it?
No,
It doesn't snow anymore. Look outside.
It's true. No, it takes place in December, Josh, like right by Christmas.
Think of the actors too. I mean, she was bare chested through that whole 5-minute chase scene.
She got paid.
Yeah,
she got paid. She didn't have to.
It was in her contract. She was aware what she signed up for.
That's right. All right.
Read the script.
She read this. She knew what she was getting into.
Hey guys, I'm Felissa Rose, Angela from Sleepaway Camp, and you're listening to They Cast from the Coast. Yeah!
All right, Aaron.
Yeah.
You've got quite a few notes, so we would love it if you could share some effects magic knowledge with us.
All right. Well, I'll try.
Fair enough.
First of all, I thought the cinematography opening up it seemed legit. I even have here, it seems legit. Some of the nice camera angles and things. I was like, hey, this might be all right. So my whole outlook on the whole thing went from being like, okay, let's see what this is going to be like. And then I saw a couple of the first camera angles. I'm like, okay, all right, they put some work into this. I hope it carries through. I got the same Saw vibes right out of the gate. I'm like, oh no, please don't tell me they're going to be doing this crap all the way through.
I would watch a Christmas Saw movie.
Well, I mean, it would be cool. The first death there, where they crank up the whatever it is on the wall, and he gets electrocuted by the bulbs, I guess, or whatever.
Tim would love that one. The guy's eyes explode. Tim loves that when that happens in a movie.
His eyes explode, and I did notice that's probably that's definitely VFX. That was too quick of a shot to be anything else, right? Yeah. They probably just didn't. I don't know. It was an afterthought, maybe is what I'm thinking there. Foaming mouth effect from the kid with the cattle prod. That was a nice little. I mean, it was a fast where she was vibrating, but you could see the foam bouncing around like she was getting all. Not that would happen. You might drool or whatever because your motor response skills are off. But I thought it was pretty cool. You throw a piece of Eno or whatever in your mouth and let it bubble and go on, or Polydent or whatever, and let that go. That was a good effect. I thought it was great. Creepy priest. That guy was out to lunch, man. I don't even know what the heck was going on there.
Pretty extreme.
And it was the first introduction to the guy. I'm like, what the? I'd never go to this church ever.
That's why the church is empty.
So there was a scene. There was a scene where Aubrey goes into the police station. She's sitting behind her desk, right? And she's doing her thing. But when she sits down behind her desk, she's wearing a duty belt, her jacket, the whole thing. But what I did notice that I did see was that she's wearing her duty belt. And then when she gets up to go and investigate what her captain or whatever is saying, or the sheriff is saying, she grabs another duty belt off of the coat rack and something else. And I'm like, she's already wearing that. Why is she grabbing another one? Okay,
Double up.
whatever. Yeah, I don't think many people picked up on that,
She's
but I
pulling double
definitely.
duty.
Why did you say it like that?
Why not, Tim?
So she finds the first body, and then she takes her gun out. And I don't know if you guys realize, but she takes her gun out. She goes like this, and it cocks itself. It goes, and she doesn't even have her hand around it. Like it just automatically cocks.
I never
itself.
noticed.
Movie magic.
Movie magic.
We'll go with that, Tim. We'll go with that. Great burn effects on the dead deputy. So obviously he, the top of his head was all kind of burned there or whatever. Could have been gelatin or, it was a pretty quick shot. So it was probably going to be something a little easier on the budget. But it was still pretty good. Great severed hand in the drawer. That looked like it was just going to be like a silicone or even a gelatin run hand. The coloration and stuff looked great on it for it being cut off for a while. And sitting in there, and it matched the body that was in the corner. If I'm not the torso without any limbs or whatever on it, it was kind of good there. Great murder scene, body parts that ties into that whole severed hand in the drawer. The sickle part where you said it hit him right in the junk. I think it was more taint area because the sickle's kind of curved, so it's just right up in the Gucci, right? That would not be. That'd not be
Gooch attack.
Yeah, that would be painful. That would be super painful.
Yeah.
Nice severed leg. So she's running through. She gets her leg cut off. Right, the leg looked pretty good. When he threw it into the chipping machine, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You do, and you want to do that right before you kill somebody with a wood chipper, right? Because you want them to see their limb getting mulched up and be like, "No, I could have saved it. I could have put it back on, but no, oh no, I'm fucked." Right? Like you just get this shit.
Yeah.
This overwhelming.
Now I know I'm fucked. Not that he cut it off.
I just saw a body part go through that. Now I'm going to go through it. No, right? Like that just added to me to my whole psyche. I'm like, that would be disgusting watching your own leg go through a wood chipper. Nah, that'd be sick. I hate to be the person that gets a Christmas tree that's sprayed all over. You got little toes and shit all over it, right? Impressive.
That Christmas tree farmer was like, man, cutting into my margin. I can't be throwing these trees out.
Get the hose, dear.
I was impressed with the chipper machine death. I loved all the shots of it. I like when she was coming down and you see her arse and she's coming down into the chipping machine. And then you see it spinning. You hear the sounds. I was like, this scene is one of the best chipping machine deaths that I've seen. I really, really loved it. I thought that the stuff coming out, they did a fantastic job shooting that whole thing. They put a lot of love into that scene. They were like, we got to make this look as terrible as possible and make it feel as terrible, right? And that's I think they nailed it with that, right? Throwing some foam pieces in there and having it all covered in blood and coming spilling out of the other end. That's fantastic. This priest, he needs to be fired. Who's overlooking this dude? I made a comment about the Killer Santa costume. I really liked the costume, and I loved the mask for how simplistic it was. Adam, you made the comment earlier about it. You walk into a Halloween store and you see these little plastic masks that you can, they're translucent. You can see the person's face kind of behind them and stuff. I find that pretty creepy, to be honest. And when he cut it out and then stuck the mustache and stuff on it and had the beard hanging off of it, I thought, you know what, that's pretty simplistic, but it worked. I thought it worked really well for this character. And yeah, that mask, you're right, would be like what, $2.99, $1.99 maybe.
Yeah.
So I mean, kudos to them for saving cash that way, right? Priest's death was great. I should go back and just let you guys know about some of the people that did the effects in it. And this was a long string of people that did the effects in this, but I'm not gonna talk about all of them. They came in and I don't know whether they filled out their paperwork a little differently than anyone else, but one guy comes in as an SPFX producer, one comes in as a coordinator, one comes in as a supervisor. It's like, well, isn't that all the same kind of shit? Like what's going on here, right? Were you going to say something, Tim?
No, I was just giving Adam the big thumbs up.
Oh yeah, okay. So
And giving you the big thumbs up because you
We love you.
love you.
George Frangadakis was apparently the coordinator, and one of the movies I guess you guys would like. I mean, he's done quite a few, B movies and things, but one that stood out to me was Cabin Fever that he was involved in. Another guy was Vincent Gustini. He was apparently the supervisor on this. He was involved in stuff like Last of the Mohicans and The Dark. The SPFX producer, which was Gregory Ramoundis. He was responsible for Star Trek V, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob back in 2001. They've all got quite a list of things that they've worked on over the years. And Doug Morrow, he was the key makeup effects guy that would have probably applied everything or things like that. So he's done movies like as recently as Godzilla 2014, Reindeer Games, Happy Gilmore, that kind of thing. So just to give a background of what we're working with effects people here, this is why the practical effects team, what you were saying earlier, was absolutely fantastic, right? I mean, they had a really big crew here, and they actually spent some time doing and thinking about some of these really cool deaths and shit like that, right? I wrote another note in between things that says, I think everyone in this town hates Christmas. Because this is what it felt like. Everybody that they talked to was like a grumpy or somebody that hated Christmas I'm like, does anybody in this town like Christmas? Like, what the hell's going on here?
Well, they're also talking to everyone in the bar at fucking 2 o'clock in the morning. Those don't tend to be the friendliest of folk.
There was on Aubrey, she gets into a couple entanglements with a couple of these Santas and things and gets beat up, and she has some pretty good bruising going on her face. I saw that and I was like, okay, pretty good continuity. But then later on in the movie, after she gets into that first little conflict with this Santa in the back alley, chasing him or whatever, I did notice that a couple scenes later she had no bruising at all, and it was in the same night. It's like, what happened? Did it magically disappear or what's going on? So I did notice some inconsistencies throughout the movie on behalf of that kind of thing, which they should have really either reshot or because it was blatant. Yeah, she was wearing a hat and things like that, but still, like, it went from being prominent to not there at all.
That's the problem with this 4K ultra high depth stuff. Like, they gotta stop releasing some movies where you can look at the pores, because there's no way to maintain continuity.
I did comment on the straight makeup that was all done through here. I thought it was really well done. I never saw any shine on anybody, and everybody was all taken care of in that aspect of the whole thing. And then I got a note down here in quotations that says, "I'm going to lighten Santa's sack." Right?
Dirty.
I lost it. I had to pause it right there because I'm like, what? This is pretty messed up. The Achilles cut with the axe, I believe that was VFX. It happened so fast, but anytime something happens to your Achilles tendon, like, ow, man, in any show that I watch, it's like, that's got to be painful,
That
right?
sucks.
Yeah, it's a good one of those situations where you want a cringe factor in your movies. Like, add something like that where you can see a tendon that's pulling and then get it cut. Like, get it cut right in view. That everybody would cringe and look at that. It's just like watching somebody get, on a skateboard or something, jumping over something and then landing on their leg the wrong way and seeing it snap in real life. Oh, that hurt, right? Oh, damn. Death by Antlers. Now, I compared this one to the old movie, right? The 1984 movie, right?
Yep.
And I thought the 1984 movie holds up big time to this one as well. I think they're equally done well, but the 1984 movie, I thought was actually it held true when I compared the both. I'm like, wow. When I saw that in the 1984 version, I'm like, oh. And they had the proper close-ups to see the horns coming through the stomach and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And they did the same thing here, but it was like a little. It's like the horns were a little smaller when they were poking through and stuff. But I think equally, in both movies, they did a fantastic job with the close up and pushing the fake torso onto that, and having the horns come pushing through the gelatin or whatever they were using for the materials, right?
Now, that being said, one thing that I'll point out is that I felt that the skin as the horns were coming through in this one didn't seem to stretch as much. It seemed more like it seemed kind of crumbly.
And I think that's why I like the 84 version.
Because it like stretched.
Yeah, and it's something that your skin would do, right?
Yeah.
It would stretch like that until it got to the point where it just couldn't do it anymore, and you know, the antlers. So that's a good point, Adam.
It seemed like it was pushing more through like wax.
Yeah. I think this whole movie shone because of the practical effects that happened in this film. I think the film, with the practical effects that they had in this, actually carried the film on its back quite a bit, because that kept my attention. I want to see what was going to happen next for an effect on my end of it, right? Being an SPFX guy, I pay attention to all that stuff, and it did. It kept my attention right to the end. So that's super cool about that, I think. The axe chop to the head and then splitting it down the middle was a great effect. A little bit cut, like the cuts were happening pretty quick, right? And cut. Head splits open. I'm like, okay, cool. And they didn't spend a lot of time, looking at it again. They just did the effect, the pieces, pulled apart and everything. And I was like, you know what? That was still pretty effective. I completely enjoyed that. This sounds really demented when you think about it.
Compared to what else?
I got another note here that says good slasher film. Continuity on Aubrey's face. I already covered that. No bruises in the cell scene, and it's the same night. Awesome forehead shot, very realistic. So the guy gets shot in the forehead, right? They did. What I believe they did was the old button in the middle of the head effect in some wax. It looked to be like that. I don't think it was VFX, but that is such a good effect, right? You embed the button, and you build up the wax, and you smooth it out, and the scene goes so quick, bang, they pull that right out on a piece of string or a piece of monofilament, and it leaves that little hole there, and you have it painted red in behind, and it looks like the person gets shot, and then you've got your condom filled with blood on the backside of the head, and it splats all over the place. I thought that scene, for lining up the gunshot and exactly how fast that would happen, they did a great job on that, right? There was no delay on it. It was just a good scene. I thought it was a great scene for the effect.
Yep.
I just learned that. Did you know they did that, Tim?
What?
The button?
They take the button and they build wax up on the forehead to pull it. I never knew that.
I'm or whatever.
Going back, I think it was that exact version of the method. I think it was Steve Johnson that originated that. He talked about that. There was
Tom Savini was a big factor when it came to that effect as well.
Well, then maybe it was Tom Savini, because I know Steve Johnson and all them used to kind of work on a bunch of things, and Steve was kind of secondary to a lot of them. Yeah. And I remember there was something called the Horror Hall of Fame, which is kind of like the mini Oscars for horror back in like the 80s and 90s. And Steve Johnson, he was married to Linnea Quigley at the time, had a little segment where it was like he would show off how they did certain things in movies, and that was one of the things that he showed, was how they did that effect. So back in like the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's very effective. Like, very effective. You can do it all in one go, right? Yeah. And then if you need to reshoot it, it's not a big deal. You just, you sculpt it back up again, you get it going. It's such a quick shot that you really don't need to, and it depends on the distance as well, right? Just as long as you get that dark spot, and then you can cut to the splatter on the wall, and then have the drip already starting, or fill the void with some blood, and then when the head comes forward, it starts to drip, right? It's just a perfect lineup for that whole thing. Day of the Dead, that was used a lot. Dawn of the Dead, that was used a lot. If you go back and you watch those movies, like kind of pause it when that's happening, you can see the little, if you look carefully, you can see what's going on. Yeah. What have I got here? Oh, Aubrey's father's death with the intestines hanging out next to the Christmas tree. Yeah, it was low light and stuff, but it was great. The ho brass knuckles, I thought were a nice touch. That's attention to detail right there. Nice side face burn on Malcolm Mcdowell when he gets burned on the side of the face. And then a nice burn mask shot at the end with the side of the face all burned up, and that looked exactly like what we would do with gelatin and cotton balls and things like that. That did not look like a full prosthetic when it comes to the terms of actually applying an appliance to that. That looked like it was gelatin, and it was colored really well. Yeah, it was either gelatin or a transfer, is what I thought. What I've got written down here, right? So
Nice.
those are my notes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good notes indeed.
Nice.
Nice! Alright, so that just means that we have time for something else. Does anybody else want to guess what we have time for?
Final reviews?
Trivia time
Is
with Tim!
What?
What?
You sound surprised, because I didn't
How-
forget him this time.
I love trivia.
Go ahead, Tim.
Viva la Tim.
Viva la Tim.
Viva la Tim.
Viva la Tim.
Are you trying to get a sponsor? Is that what you're trying to do?
That'd be amazing. All right. Okay. Trivia time. This film was partially inspired by a real-life holiday massacre that took place on Christmas Eve in 2008. Corvia? Holiday Massacre?
Corvia Holiday Massacre.
This is the third remake of a 1980s horror film in which Jamie King has starred. You know, because she's Hollywood royalty? Horror royalty? What do you say?
Horror
it starred?
royalty. I think so.
She previously starred in My Bloody Valentine, 2009. Mother's Day. And now this. The line, what is this? Garbage Day? Is a reference, obviously, to Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, when Ricky is on a shooting spree and says this most magical line.
Magical line.
And it was.
Garbage Day!
There is a scene where an elderly man wakes up after not talking for a year to warn his grandson to watch out. This plays obvious tribute to the original 1984 Silent Night, Deadly Night. Yeah, we already knew that. The film's Wisconsin setting is a reference to the protests of the original film, which were censored in Milwaukee. Centered in Milwaukee, not censored, sorry. This is the second horror remake of the seasonal slasher film Malcolm McDowell has starred. After Halloween 2007, Malcolm McDowell also regrettably turned down the role in Black Christmas, which was the first seasonal slasher film. He was supposed to be in the original. I guarantee he would have played, what's his name?
The father?
Peter. No, he would have been Peter, because Peter, the guy who played Peter, kind of looked like Malcolm McDowell. I just watched that movie like the other night. At one point, Sheriff Cooper mentions CSI Miami, and Brendan Fear, who plays Deputy Jordan, starred as Dan Cooper in the series from 2005 to 2008. One more, because there's not a lot with this. Maria is briefly choked with a shower curtain before she escapes the apartment. This is a clear tribute to Claire's death scene in Black Christmas 1974, where she's strangled to death with a laundry bag.
Definitely.
So we definitely caught on to all that. That's cool.
I could see if there's goofs. I don't think there is goofs. There might be goofs. There has to be goofs.
This movie's full of goofs.
No goofs.
Oh, yeah.
Zero goofs.
Okay, no, there's a couple.
No goofs.
No, there is. We got some continuity errors. When Sheriff Cooper and Deputy Braddymore are talking in front of a blackboard, the word Carson keeps changing continuously to Carson. So there's one point where it's spelled with two S's, and then another point where it's spelled with one, all in the same scene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Double.
In the final fighting scene between Deputy and Santa, Braddymore's hair changes from being tied up to hair being loose in between scenes. When Tiffany and Dennis are attacked by the killer Santa Claus, the killer appears from behind the open bathroom door that was nearly closed in the shop before. This means the killer had to open the door, walk into the room, hide behind the door without Tiffany Dennis noticing him, which is very unrealistic since
Magic.
Tiffany is lying on the bed in front of that door, and Dennis is also looking in that direction the entire scene.
It's Christmas magic. How do you? Santa Claus gets into every fucking house and delivers presents. I think he can climb behind a fucking door without people seeing him.
Right?
I don't need you. I don't ruin the magic that is Christmas time with you. Okay? And I don't need you to do it either.
All right, fine. Go ahead.
Okay?
Christmas time with Tim.
Christmas time with Tim.
Hey, we didn't ask for Goose from Tim.
Yeah, really.
But you're getting it.
This is
But
the
I love
bonus segment. We'll interrupt if we want to.
This is a bonus. What else you got for us, Tim?
Done.
That's it.
Oh, okay, that's it. All right, so that being said, it is time, gentlemen, to relay our final thoughts and review and give our rating for this movie. So, Josh, I'm going to get you to go first.
Yeah. I really like this movie. I don't see it as much of a connection to the original as you guys do, and I know they sold it as that, and I'm sure I'd be better if I went into it thinking that I'm going to be sold this, and then I got faulty goods. I get that. This movie will get an R from me, but then the killer broke his own rules and didn't use the naughty list, and that agitates me to no end. So I'm going to give it a PG.
It's a pretty quick review. Straight
Yeah.
to the point. It was going to get an R
to the
until
point.
Santa didn't use the
It
naughty
did.
list. Now it's a PG.
When you have a slasher film, there has to be rhyme or reason, or it can just be a massacre, and that's fine. But you don't get to have both.
It can't start with rhyme or reason and then just end up in a massacre?
Well, it could, but again, that's not what happens. Just halfway through, he just switches, and then he switches back. He's like, okay, I'm only going after naughty people. All these other people just waving, yeah, okay, yeah, nice parade. Yeah.
To this guy, I think, if somebody broke some lead in a lead pencil, that's naughty. So you just kill him. That's what I was flicking between with this whole thing. Was like, okay, well, what did that person do?
Yeah, why did he deserve that? But there's plenty of scumbags that he killed. There's like, oh yeah, fuck.
Especially
But some of them got-
especially that like 13-year-old girl. I mean, pure scumbag.
Yeah, get her.
And some of them got like a little present with coal in them, and some people didn't. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ones who
Like,
did
those
die
ones
got
were
cold.
Naughty ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't
They
know.
were-
All right. Tim. Why don't you go next?
So I didn't want to watch this movie because I knew kind of from when it came out and the trends that were around that time with horror movies and in particular horror movie remakes. But I bit the bullet because I had to watch it for the show, and I have to say I was pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised by the practical effects. Like the practical effects of this movie are like top notch. I was really, really, really happy with them. But that was it. Like, I wasn't a fan of the acting. I thought the script was cheesy and very flimsy. If I get the opportunity to make a remake of a horror movie as, notorious as Silent Night, Deadly Night was back in, what was it, 84?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh man, I'm going to go balls to the wall and try to get it even worse and more notorious. You know what I mean? I felt this movie was just a cash grab, and it sucks because, the special effects people, they gave it their all. It's probably some of their best special effects. And the Santa, I have to say the Santa in this was a lot better than the original. I absolutely dug the mask and the perfect beard. Like, he looked like an evil Santa. right? Like I really like that. But the kills were great. The gore was great. The script sucked. Some of the acting was very flimsy and wishy-washy. Um, I didn't like the tone a lot of the movie. It didn't feel like Christmas to me. Like I didn't get Christmas vibes. I got, hey, let's just set up and do this stuff, and it didn't feel Christmassy enough. Like you watch Gremlins, it feels like a Christmas movie with all this shit happening, right? Like it felt like Christmas. This didn't feel like Christmas to me.
There was barely any decor and a lack of snow.
Yeah, the snow could have helped. The snow could have helped.
Yeah.
But given all that, I want to rate it worse, but I can't because, like I said, the special effects and the kills were pretty good. I'm going to give it a PG as well.
Oh, there you go. Okay, PG.
Cool.
Aaron.
Yeah. It's kind of rough being the third and fourth on the go because, a lot of the stuff has been said.
Just do what Adam does.
Share the same sentiments.
Yeah. That's all you got to do.
Then I will share the same sentiments. Let me write that down so I don't forget that for future.
Not sediments. You don't share
Sentiments.
the same rock.
Tim's playing with his ball. I didn't mind the storyline, and I just accidentally watched, Silent Night, Deadly Night last week, right? And I thought that it had some pretty big differences compared to this version of it. It was more of a backstory with the main character in the '84 version of this, with the orphanage and all that kind of stuff. And you built up why this person was doing this kind of thing. With this one, you're kind of just jumping into the action, jumping into the mayhem, and I definitely show the same sentiments when it comes to Tim and what you said about the way that this whole thing kind of plays out, and the way that they really don't. They have. It's almost like they have a hard time explaining certain things, and I got a little confused at some points going through the film when it came to comparison of the '84 version. I enjoyed this film. I enjoyed it because I love great special effects, I should say. And this definitely had that. And I was sitting back going, yeah, that was awesome. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
I can't say anything else about that. Yeah. And that's why I said earlier that the effects kind of carried this through. Does that mean that some of the lines in this were cheesy? I agree. Some of the writing was a little weak in some places, but I think they hired a couple really decent actors that pulled it through as well. If they fell off with some of the lines that were cheesy, which they were, but they managed to pull some of them through where I was on the edge of going, okay, that worked. Then, yeah, I actually enjoyed this film. I got right into it. I was, eating my bag of chips and going right to town and wiping the grease all over the couch and, taking a note here and there. And, yeah.
That's the worst.
You know what? If somebody's going to sit down, they want to see a good gore fest and stuff. They're not too heavy on story, which some people just love a good gore fest. Then they're going to enjoy this film. They're going to, right? Because it's got some really cool effects in it.
It's got a wood chipper, man.
And that, that right there is A1. That's A grade stuff right there. So I'm going to give it an R. I recommend it. Like if somebody's going to sit down, they're going to choose between, watching the '84 or this version. I'd watch this version myself.
Okay, so I'm going to use my psychic abilities now. I'm going to use my psychic abilities. Gonna reach out. I already know what Adam's gonna rate this.
What?
I'm gonna write it down.
He's gonna write it down.
And then put it in an envelope and hold it up to your head at the end. And then...
All right, what? Yeah. What would Johnny Carson? I'm thinking. All right, Tim's writing it down.
Go ahead.
All right,
it's written.
You gotta hold up to your forehead so we know you're not altering it.
Okay.
It's gotta remain sealed.
All right, I'll try to keep it quick and simple. Okay. It had really good special effects when it comes to the practical. There were a couple of cheesy VFX that occurred in the movie, but it didn't deter from the rest of it. I liked the fact that some characters died the way that they died. It had some good, interesting deaths. The wood chipper was really good. I still can't get past, unfortunately, the ties to the original. I love the Santa Claus in this. I can imagine taking the original, the 1984, doing a remake that's almost a point for point in the fact that he grows up, he becomes, a sustainable adult in life, and goes mad, and he dons a mask, Michael Myers style.
Yeah.
Picks up a mask and dons it. That would be fucking dope.
That movie would have been great.
That movie would have been fucking dope.
Yes,
Like that to me,
movie would have been great.
Yes.
But
especially if he had a list that he kept to.
Yeah.
I said that one for you, Josh. The mask was great, and I want a mask like that. I think it's great. Like that sitting beside like a Krampus mask, that'd be cool. That's cool. That's Christmas horror. Acting cheesy. It was great to see some characters in this, but I think that the actors themselves, like Jamie King and Malcolm McDowell, who are great actors, piss poor use of these people in this movie. This movie is below them in a lot of ways. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say PG.
I was wrong.
You were going to say R, weren't you?
What?
You were going R, weren't you?
I thought you were going to go R.
No.
Timothy.
No.
Disappointed. You ruined the whole gag.
Tim's third eye.
Disappointed.
Bullshit.
All that folding you did, you should have had one of each rating, and then you could have always
just folded out the side, the one side.
No. I'm gonna be honest. That's what I thought he was gonna rate it. I thought he was gonna rate it an R.
The movie has some merits that it could have stood on its own, but I just think that it sullies it with the idea that it is a remake, but it isn't truly a decent remake. It should have been something better on its own, and there would have been a couple of things that I would have preferred differently. Even if this wasn't tied directly to the original, I still might have only given it a PG, though. Just for the fact that it is really a passive gorefest movie, but it just needed to step it up a bit. Just dial it up just a little bit more, and I would have given it an R. So
I do agree it could have had some more Christmas stuff in the background, like some snow and shit like that. But maybe they didn't have a budget for that or whatever. But yeah, I do agree that it could have been a little more Christmas oriented when it comes to some of the scenes downtown and the snow and that would have given that
there
more.
was like 40 Santas downtown. What more Christmas do you need, guys?
I wanted more scenes where Santa Claus was
I
like
think the shop
breaking into people's homes, and it's like creepy lit scenes where Santa's like walking through the home with a fucking blade and he's gonna kill somebody.
I think that takes place like December 5th.
Hey, the other thing I forgot to mention was the soundtrack. Did you guys hear some of the original soundtrack in it? That they had some of the jingles going with some of the beat and the way that the killer was doing some of the stuff. They had the little jingle going in, like Jingle Bell. They had the bells go. I thought that was pretty cool. But if they would have accompanied that with some better backgrounds and things, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, good conversation. I mean, Silent Night, the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, take it as you will. But, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a Christmas special from They Cast from the Coast. Providing you, well, because by the time that everybody watches this, it will be Christmas.
I know. That's why we're wearing the goddamn hats. That's why we got these on.
We got the jingle balls going.
It's too tight on my head.
I've already ripped it.
When we film the next episode, I'm going to have a band.
Oh, man. So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight and watching this episode with us. And, Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays, whatever it is that you are, in fact, celebrating at this time with your family, and joyous times. And,
Joyous Festivus to us all.
Joyous Festivus and Yule and all that stuff. So thank you very much. Check us out on Facebook, by the way. So we produce all of this content every week under Facebook, Misunderstood Art Company. Like, share, subscribe. We're also on YouTube, Misunderstood Art Company. Like, share, and subscribe. We produce audio copies of all of our content on all the major podcasting platforms, including, but not limited to, Amazon, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, etc., etc., etc. We're also on Patreon. Open up your hearts and your wallets. Buy Tim a coffee. You know, Viva la
I'm
Tim.
almost done. Viva la Tim.
Viva la Tim. And until next time, Josh.
A bring.
Hello.
Hi, it's the telemarketer here to raise money for National Suck My Dick Week. Can I put you down for a deposit?
I fell into that one. That was bad. I shouldn't have answered.
Yes.
Hello. We're mixing Christmas classics. Here we go, Aaron.
Work them titties.
Saucy.
Hey, it was in the porn scene, right?
That's right. Yeah, work them titties,
Laugh
girl.
my ass off over that.
And Tim.
Stay safe and stay spooky.
Every one of us.
Every one of us.
Until next time. See you later, folks.
Boys
Happy
over.
holidays!